sterile concrete and steel-filled planet is the fix-it way. I honestly don't know if I should be depressed by that notion. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Satisfactory. We're going to start a new run. This time we're going back to the grass fields. It has been ages since I've been there and done any kind of a production in that area, so it will be both interesting and also somewhat of a new experience, as my memory of the area is foggy at best. So, as we run through the basic stuff of starting a new game in Satisfactory on screen, let me walk you through on what we wish to accomplish on this run. First off, we're not going to be making factory buildings here, so if you want to see elegant buildings made in Satisfactory, this will not be the run for you. 2. We will be focusing on power production and production in general. 3. I want to utilize the whole map, and to do that I need to really get into building railways around the map. 4. I'm still undecided on how I will build things. I started with the idea that the conveyor belts would be visible and form a circuit board look on top of the foundations. However, then I actually got into moving through my factories and I was forced to use conveyor lifts to move items around, and I really disliked the spaghetti that was forming. So I decided to return to using hidden conveyor belts under the foundations, and I guess I'm going with that. 5. Coal is power. I will utilize all the coal I can find in the map for power production as long as the power production is stable. Any extra coal may go to steel production or used in other high-tier productions. But it will be minimal. This means a few things. First, I will have to produce steel items some other ways, meaning either alternative recipes like iron pipes. Second, alternative recipes for coal production is the main source in steel production. Let the deforestation of Massive 2AB begin. Third, I want to see a flat line in power production. Yes, we can use geothermal power and other power production means later on, but I will hopefully be able to separate them to their own grids and still be able to determine that the power production from coal and fuel is a stable flat line. Any fuel produced left over is free game for other things. Now, in the game, as I said before, my memory of this area is very faint. So I picked up one of the worst locations to start building in. Sure, there is plenty of open space around, but the nodes here are mostly impure, which actually made the game start more difficult than it needed to be. Now, as I try to recollect how anything in the game is done, I do still remember that none of what I built here really matters in the long run. So no real need to be tidy and built clean. Anything built at this stage will be ripped down and rebuilt at least once, and more likely even more times. The only thing you lose when rebuilding is your own time. No need to manage pawns and their time like in Oxygen Not Included or in Space Haven, which is honestly a relief. The only rush at this stage of the game comes from needing fuel for the biomass burners, which you can easily compensate by not building too much too fast. Plus, as the starting area name suggests, there is plenty of biomass in the form of grass, so fuel will not be in short supply. As soon as basic production has begun, we can start working on the milestones. Here I'm picking the logistics as it gives me access to the conveyor splitters and mergers, which means that I can produce more items than one from a singular node. Field research is also tempting as it gives access to the map. Then once we have a goal set, we need to cover the basic productions, meaning iron, copper and concrete and their relative craftable items. And once all the basics are covered, we can start clearing the first milestones, logistics being the first and obstacle clearing on tier 2 being the second. The first one gives us access to conveyor splitters and mergers, as mentioned earlier. The second one allows us to cut down trees and turn leaves and wood to solid biomass fuel. This is the most efficient fuel source in the game at this stage and allows us to work more without the need to go exploring and cutting down more vegetation. Not that we wouldn't want to do that. A sterile concrete and steel-filled planet is the fix-it way. I honestly don't know if I should be depressed by that notion. Base building is the third milestone I pick, so that I can start cleaning up the areas where I build and organize the buildings and conveyor belts a lot better. Field research opens up the map, and the MAM research, which gives us better tools in exploring the world. As the production area is getting bigger, I need to organize a better way to produce more solid biofuel, as I'm still using biomass burners as the main source of power production. Part assembly allows us to start working on higher tier items and start working on space elevator parts and objectives.
Milestone reached. The assembler can produce more complex parts.
The MAM building is where you do your planetary research. Most tools and special items are hidden in the tech trees inside the different categories over here. This can be quite confusing to new players, as you get the chainsaw through Milestones, and suddenly there is another building where you find the other tools needed for conquering the alien planet of Massive 2AB.
This fruit, dubbed the paleberry due to its tendency to stay light.
As the factories are expanding, so is the power need. I used this setup to turn both leaves and wood to solid biomass, which is then burnt in 7 biomass burners, with one of them dedicated to just this particular factory area. The great thing about the biomass burners is that the biomass is only burned as power is needed. If the connected factories don't draw power, no biomass is burned. So there is zero loss when production is down. And when it comes to larger factories, we should also organize things a little better, meaning foundations should be laid down and buildings should be neatly placed on top. Like so. And with the Logistics 2 milestone done, it is a good idea to mention that I'm not gonna go through every milestone I do and what order is the best one to do them. In the long run, it doesn't really matter. All milestones will eventually be finished. Well, I still do not really get the idea of jump pads, but maybe it will open up to me at some point. But with the Logistics Mark II done, we are getting ready for the space elevator to be built and starting the first phase production of smart plates. In the back of the starting factory, I have already laid the foundations for the space elevator, and I say it every time, but I really do love the animation here for the space elevator and how it connects to the land anchor. And quite immediately we have the first phase done, which means we open up the next 2 progression tier milestones and we can start working on coal power and steel production.
Completing phase 2 of project assembly is your next main objective.
While the grasslands offers rather poor notes, the area itself is quite peaceful. The big hog is the most dangerous creature in the area, and it did manage to nearly get me here. So, to make my life easier, it is time to invest in range weaponry in the form of the rebar gun. And with the rebar gun research and soon built, we can actually go and explore the world a bit more safely. This means we should start searching for Mercer Sapphires and Summer Sloops. These are highly rare, limited items that make your life so much easier, with Mercer Sapphires allowing teleportation of items and Summer Sloops allowing multiplication of production. Oh, and you shouldn't forget looking for pod crash sites which offer hard drives with alternative recipes. To finally get a coal power running, one needs access to a coal node, which in this instance was not very far from the hub. Then that coal needs to be transported to a generator. This time I chose to use a tractor until trains become available. One of the main limiting factors in the Crashfield starting location is the lack of usable water, as you only have a couple of water bodies close by. Why I transport coal to the water is the simple fact that I find the pipe calculations in this game a little unstable. Meaning the pipes may go empty for reasons unknown, and they work better and more stable the less connections and pipe segments you have. As for the generators themselves, they have a rather huge footprint, so be prepared to have plenty of foundations laid down to accommodate that. And finally, with everything properly connected, we have constant, reliable power being produced 24/7, or whatever the week cycle is on this particular planet. And this is usually a good spot to stop and take a breather, as one can stop burning solid biofuel and start worrying about power, and for me to start editing this episode's content. To be honest, I did record about 3 more hours of content for the next episode before I was finally able to put the mouse and keyboard down and start tackling this episode. But that is it for this one. Thank you all for watching and bye for now.